What's up, y'all? 602 Busa back at it again with another one. We're in the middle of nowhere, so of course you know that means it's time for a vlog. But I want to answer a question for you guys. Should you buy a Hayabusa, and would you buy a Hayabusa for your first bike? Keep it simple, no. Don't buy a Hayabusa for your first bike. Are you stupid? Now the reason why I say are you stupid is because of the fact that you think about a new rider riding a bike like this, riding a bike like a Hayabusa. And you know what? I'm just gonna pull over and show you what I mean real quick, because I don't know if people quite understand. I don't know if any of you guys have ever really sat on one before, but this is not a little bike to be messing around with. Let me just show you real quick what I'm dealing with over here. So this is it. This is my bike, Suzuki Hayabusa 2009. It's a big boy. It is a big boy. Stock, these things are like 200, not 200, I'm talking about, stock these things are like 586 pounds. I say light because that's the exact number. Stock. Now again, mine's not stock. I've got some mods done to it, so mine's a little bit lighter. But when you think about handling a bike this size, you really got to ask yourself, are you ready for it? I mean, the main thing really for me about not getting a Hayabusa as a first bike really has to do with, like, you know, again, being a new rider, you're inexperienced. Your throttle hand is crap. You don't know how to use the throttle, and the bike's not forgiving. Yeah, the bike has rider aids. You know, you've got your different rider modes like A modes, B mode, C mode. You know, those are designed to help curb off some of that throttle response, but still, I mean, even in C mode, the bike has the ability to definitely do some hurt on somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Again, the inexperienced rider, the new rider. To be honest, I mean, if you get one of these things in the corner, I know it sounds rare, but you can do it. If you get one of these bikes in the corner, it's not as forgiving. Or even just on the straights, the bike is not forgiving. If you chop that throttle like that, you just chop it, just crack it open, in the middle of a turn, you'll definitely send this bike fishtailing. That rear end is going to slap around and you're going to lose all your traction, and then you're going to end up on the ground. On like a 300, a 250, something like that, those bikes are a lot more forgiving. They don't have as much power as this bike has, so if you make one of those newbie mistakes, which you're going to do, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. You definitely rather do that on a 300 or a 250 than do it on a bike like this, a 1300, 1000, or even 600s for that matter. Those will send you flying too. But really, it's all about being in control. And as a new rider, you don't have any of it yet. Your throttle hand is crap. You don't know what you're doing. And I know I've seen guys in the forums, they'll talk about, you know, oh yeah, well, you know, I don't understand why you say that. I'm a mature rider, you know, I've ridden dirt bikes before and so on and whatnot. Nah, it's a totally different feel, man. It's not, I know it's not a dirt bike, but when you get this much power in your hands, you got to be able to know what you're doing and know how to control it. That's the bottom line. It's not about how mature you are. You could be a 45-year-old rider that's brand new and still just chop that throttle at the wrong time and it'll send you looping. So it doesn't matter, you could be young or old. If you chop that throttle and you don't know how to control that bike, you're done. So yeah, it's a lot of power. And as you can see, the bike has a lot of weight on it. Like we mentioned before, it's 586 pound stock. If you're unfamiliar with how to ride a bike, being able to move all this weight around is not gonna be easy. You definitely got to make sure you know what you're doing. And that really comes down to being an experienced rider. I mean, even experienced riders make the same mistakes as inexperienced riders. They just do it a lot less often, probably, to be honest. Because we all make mistakes, you know. Oh, that's beautiful over there. I definitely got to do some hill climbing over there. I'm scared, though. I'm a punk. But I'm going to do it. It's about that dirt life. But yeah, you definitely want to be an experienced rider to get on one of these. So definitely don't hop on one of these things if you're not experienced. It's not worth it. But should you buy the bike? Yeah, definitely buy a Hayabusa. These things are fun. A lot of people think that they can't corner and whatnot. I'll get into all that later. But the bike is a wonderful bike. I mean, for what I do and my style of riding, I love it. I do ride a lot of highway, and I like the fact that this bike can still pull even at highway speeds. It still gives me that pull. It still has the power at high speeds to get me out of trouble. And it's funny because me personally, I never actually bought a liter bike. I've never owned a liter bike before. It's kind of funny. The highest bike, the highest class bike that I've been to outside of this is this 600. I had a Yamaha R6, maybe like, what was it, like a 2004? Yeah, I think it was a 2004 R6 that I had back in the day. Red R6. And that was the highest class bike that I've ever bought and ridden and owned. So that's the highest class bike that I've ever had, and I jumped from a 600 to a 1300. Now, some people may not think that's the most smartest decision, but again, I learned on that 600. I was able to use what I've learned from that 600 and just apply it to a bigger bike. If I had made some of the same mistakes on this bike back then, oh yeah, I probably would have been done. Now, I've made some mistakes, but again, those mistakes were so minor, they had minor impact because of the fact that I was on a smaller CC bike. It was more forgiving. Once you get into these liter bikes, it's a totally different story. Once you go with these liter bikes and beyond, they're a lot less forgiving. Even with the rider aids, you still have to know what you're doing. Because really the only thing that they can say about a Hayabusa is like one of three things. One, it's ugly. Two, you can't corner, or a Busa can't corner. And three, the bike is slow. I mean, people still to this day say that a Hayabusa is slow, and they're serious when they say that. And they say that as if the bike has somehow gotten slower over the years. Really, the other bikes out there have gotten faster. They have, that's true. But you could always mod these bikes up to keep up as best you can with like the ZX10s, the BMW S1000 RRs and all that. You can mod these bikes up. They're totally doable. Now, to be honest, some of the other guys that have done reviews, like Chase and Do It With Dan, they're not the tallest guys in the world. I'll put it that way. I'm personally over 6 foot tall, and I don't have any problem, A, putting both feet down on this bike, and B, I don't have any problem being able to reach out and grab these handlebars. That's for sure. And it's really funny because I've seen guys do reviews on this bike, and I feel like they kind of give the bike a bad rap because of the fact that they are who they are. I mean, I think you got probably the wrong reviewer riding those bikes. Not saying that they don't know how to review a bike. I mean, I look at Chase on Two Wheels. I mean, he's done so many bike reviews. I definitely respect his opinion, but it's really hard to watch a person that doesn't have that doesn't have the same body weight, body type, you know, similar build as you do, that reviews a bike. That's something you got to remember about a lot of these guys that do reviews. If I'm 6'5", 250 pounds, and I get on a Honda Grom and I say, oh, don't buy this bike, it's so uncomfortable. I mean, if you're like, you know, 5'11", 150 pounds, yeah, the bike's not going to feel uncomfortable to you. So you really got to make sure that you understand who it is that's reviewing the bike before you actually use that as a good opinion or a good advice for you when it comes to making your purchase. So if you're like me, over 6 foot or right about at 6 foot, shoot, even somebody that's short, I've seen ride these bikes. People have gotten them lower. People have gotten, you know, a different seat, so that way they'll be able to still ride the bike and be comfortable. So there's things you can do. But again, you got to definitely take into account who's reviewing the bike before you actually ride it. I mean, because look, just pull up, I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. I could flat foot the bike pretty much no problem. My knees are actually bent, and I'm really not going too far over the bars just to be able to get to them. So yeah, don't let someone tell you that. Don't let someone tell you that's that's already too short for the bike tell you if the bike would be comfortable for you or not. That's tell you different. The bike's a fun bike. But would I recommend it to somebody that's new? Nah, definitely wouldn't. Start on a smaller bike. Start on a 250 or 600. I know everybody learns differently, but I would definitely start off on a 250 or a 600. Develop some good habits before you come out on this thing and decide to try to, I should say, definitely try to work out all of those issues you've got on a smaller bike before you make bigger mistakes, before you make those same mistakes on a bigger bike. Again, this bike is not as forgiving as you think. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Start on a smaller bike, work your way up. So yeah, if you like what you saw, leave me a comment, let me know. If you think the Busa is a good bike for your first bike, let me know why you think that. Make a video about it. 602 out.